Every moment spent gathering information without taking action is a moment lost from building the future you truly want and deserve. Learning without doing is like standing at the edge of a river and never crossing to the other side. Courage to act is what leads to real growth. Knowledge without action is like a map without a journey. Use what you learn to move forward. How many times have you filled your mind with knowledge but felt stuck when it comes to using it? How often do you learn something new only to put it aside and do nothing with it? This video is for anyone tired of just collecting information and ready to take real steps that change their life. Knowing something isn't enough if it doesn't lead to action. What is holding you back from turning what you know into real results? Imagine how different your life would look if you stopped preparing and started doing. This is not about waiting for the perfect moment or having everything figured out. It's about pushing past doubt, fear, and hesitation to finally make progress. Stay with me because what you're about to hear will challenge you to stop standing still and start moving forward. Now let's dive in. Number 1. Stop collecting knowledge and start changing your life now. You've read enough books. You've watched enough videos. You've listened to enough podcasts. And still, nothing changes until you do. Life doesn't improve because you understand a concept. It improves because you act on it. Knowledge by itself is not power. It only becomes power when it's put to use. And I want you to understand this truth now. If you keep consuming more and more without applying what you already know, you're just running in place. You're not stuck because you don't know. You're stuck because you don't do. We live in a time where knowledge is everywhere. It's in your pocket. It's on your screen. It's available all day. But having access to it doesn't change your health, your income, your relationships, or your direction. What changes those things is what you do daily. You can learn about discipline, but if you still hit snooze every morning, the learning hasn't done anything for you. You can understand the value of consistency. But if you give up after 2 weeks, nothing will ever shift. We get addicted to learning. It feels safe. It feels productive. We convince ourselves we're improving just because we know more than yesterday. But if all that knowledge doesn't translate into action, it ends up becoming a burden. It clutters your mind. It fills your day. But it doesn't fill your life with meaning. You've got to stop hiding and learning. You've got to step out and start building. You've got to push yourself to act on what you already know, instead of waiting to learn the next big thing. People spend years searching for the perfect method, the right time, the best system, and in that search they lose the very opportunity to do, while they study how to build confidence. Someone else is walking into the room and speaking up, while they're learning about leadership. Someone else is stepping up and taking responsibility, while they're reading about habits. Someone else is already creating theirs. The difference between growth and frustration is not knowledge, it's execution. Think of all the lessons you already know. You know you should wake up earlier. You know you should move your body. You know you should be careful about who you spend time with. You know you should manage your money. You know you should speak up. You know you should forgive. You know you should focus. But the real question is, how much of it are you doing? Because if you're not doing, then you're not growing. If you're not applying, then you're not improving. If you're not changing, then the knowledge is just sitting there collecting dust inside your head. The purpose of learning is not to impress people. It's to build a better life. It's not to sound smart. It's to live smart. You've got to challenge yourself every day. What am I doing today with what I already know? Am I practicing it? Am I using it? Am I living it? Because until you do, it's just potential. And potential doesn't feed your family. It doesn't solve your problems. It doesn't move you forward. Action does. You want change? Then stop collecting and start building. Start small. Pick one thing you already know and apply it without hesitation. Wake up on time. Stay consistent with your plan. Speak your truth. Follow through. Say no when it matters. Commit to something and see it through. That's how life changes, not with a new theory, but with a new action. A real one. One you feel in your bones. One that costs you something. One that stretches you beyond comfort. You have enough inside you already to take the next step. You don't need another book before you start writing your story. You don't need another podcast before you open your mouth and speak with courage. You don't need another tutorial before you make the move. What you need is the willingness to use what you've got. That's when confidence grows. That's when momentum builds. That's when people start to believe you. Because they see action. They see proof. They see change. Not just talk. If you're waiting until you feel ready, you never will. Readiness comes from doing. You don't need to feel confident to act. You need to act to become confident. You don't need to feel capable before you begin. You need to begin to become capable. That's the shift. That's the path. That's how every strong person you admire got to where they are. They didn't just learn it, they lived it. They stumbled through it, and they kept going. You can too. But you have to start now. The reason people stay stuck is not because they're lazy, it's because they keep thinking they need more before they begin. But you don't need more information. You need more responsibility. You need more movement. You need more urgency. When you decide that today is the day you start living what you know, something inside you changes. You stop blaming. You stop waiting. You stop playing it safe. You move. And the moment you move, you learn faster than you ever could by just reading. When you do, you discover what matters. You see what works and what doesn't. You feel what real growth is. You realize the truth of all those lessons you read, because now you're not just understanding them in theory. You're feeling them in your bones. You're proving them with your choices. You're living them in your schedule. That's when learning becomes power. That's when growth becomes real. You don't need permission. You don't need more motivation. You need one choice: to stop hiding in the comfort of knowing and start showing up in the struggle of doing. Because that struggle is where your future gets built. That's where your self-respect is formed. That's where your strength takes shape. And you've got that in you already. It's just been waiting for you to act. You've spent enough time studying what greatness looks like. Now it's your time to build it. Not next month. Not when you're more ready. Now. With what you have. With what you know. With who you are today. You are more ready than you think. The life you want is not far away. It's just on the other side of action. And every day you choose to do, instead of just learn, you close that gap. You move closer. You grow stronger. Number 2, break the habit of learning without taking real action. Every time you learn something new and fail to act on it, you train your mind to believe that understanding is enough. That's a dangerous habit. It tricks you into feeling productive without ever producing anything. You tell yourself you're growing, but nothing in your life is changing. You collect lessons but never test them. You gather insights but never turn them into results. You listen, you read, you absorb, but you don't apply. And that is where the gap grows wider between what you know and what you experience. Real growth requires effort, not just awareness. It asks you to move, not just think. You can sit in a seminar, take notes, nod your head, and still walk out the same person. Unless you do something different. Action is the only way to create proof that you've learned anything at all. If the knowledge stays in your head, it never gets the chance to shape your life. It never builds anything you can see or touch or be proud of. It just sits there unused, and eventually it fades. People often say they're waiting for the right moment to start, but the truth is they're trapped in the cycle of endless learning. They consume one more idea, hoping that will be the one that finally motivates them. They think if they understand everything first, they'll avoid mistakes. They believe being fully prepared will protect them from failure. But that mindset kills progress. You can't grow by avoiding effort. You can't win by playing safe with knowledge. You have to live what you've learned to see if it holds up. Every time you delay action, you train yourself to doubt your own readiness. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to move. The habit of passive learning builds a wall between your goals and your actions. And that wall grows stronger each time you take in more but do less. It becomes normal to stay in your head. It becomes normal to wait. It becomes normal to know a lot and still feel stuck. That is not how change happens. Change needs commitment. Change needs effort. Change needs you to act even when you feel uncertain. Think about your life right now. How many things do you already know you should be doing? How many lessons have you heard repeated again and again? How many plans have you made but never started? The issue is not lack of knowledge. The issue is habit. A habit of watching instead of working, of planning instead of producing, of thinking instead of deciding. And that habit doesn't break on its own. You have to interrupt it. You have to force yourself into motion. Take a step even if it's small. Use one lesson and put it to work. Make a choice today that you've been postponing. Test something. Build something. Try something. And when you do pay attention to how you feel, that discomfort you feel is a sign that you are shifting, that you are leaving behind the old habit of learning without action. You are creating a new rhythm, where you don't just know but you live what you've learned. There's a kind of confidence that only shows up after you take action. It's not the confidence that comes from reading another book. It's the confidence that comes from facing something directly. When you do what you said you would do, you earn your own trust. You see yourself differently. You start to believe that your decisions matter, that your steps have weight, that your effort counts. That's not something you can get from just sitting back and thinking about it. That's something you gain through action. You don't need to overhaul your life in one day, but you do need to start showing up differently. If you've learned about focus, then stop multitasking and complete one thing. If you've learned about honesty, then speak with truth today. If you've learned about time, then manage your schedule like it matters. Every single piece of knowledge you've collected becomes real when you act on it. Otherwise, it just becomes noise in your head. When you act, you face reality. You discover what's true for you. Not just what sounds good, you learn faster. You grow stronger. You make mistakes, but you also gain clarity. Action gives feedback. It shows you what needs to change. It reveals your weaknesses, but also your strength. It humbles you, but it also empowers you. This is why you can't keep learning without doing, because the real learning is in the doing. Some people think they're perfectionists, that they can't begin until everything is in place. But often perfectionism is just fear disguised as planning. It's a way to delay and feel justified. It's a mask that keeps you in control while avoiding the discomfort of real work. But nothing meaningful ever comes from perfect preparation. It comes from real movement, from putting your hand to the task, from staying with it when it's hard. You need to build a new habit, one where every new idea demands a step, one where every insight becomes a decision, one where every piece of advice leads to effort. That's the habit that builds a life of results. A life where you stop wondering if you're ready, and you start proving that you are. Where you stop comparing, and start doing. Where you stop talking about it, and start becoming it. You don't have to do everything at once, but you do have to do something now. Don't let today be another day where you learn but don't apply. Break that cycle. Set a new standard for yourself. Be the kind of person who turns ideas into actions, who doesn't wait for perfect timing, who doesn't hide behind research, who steps up, who moves forward, who builds momentum through real action. The life you want is not waiting to be understood. It's waiting to be created. And that only happens through effort. Not effort one day, not effort when it feels easy. Effort now, with what you have, with who you are. Start where you stand. Use what you already know. Trust yourself enough to try. You don't need more advice. You need more responsibility. You don't need more steps. You need more movement. You don't need more answers. You need to start using the answers you already have. That's how you grow. That's how you lead yourself. That's how you finally break free from the habit that's kept you in place. Break the habit. Step forward. Get uncomfortable. Do the work. Make your learning count by turning it into motion. Give yourself a chance to experience what you already understand. That's the beginning of real change, and the start of a different life. Number 3. Use what you know to build something that matters. What you already know has value. It might not feel like much because it's familiar to you, but inside your knowledge is a blueprint for impact. Every skill you've picked up, every lesson you've lived through, every piece of insight that stuck with you, it's there for a reason. It's not just to sit in your head and make you feel informed. It's there to be turned into something useful, something lasting, something meaningful to you, and maybe even to others. You don't need more ideas to begin. You need to decide that what you already know is enough to create something real. A lot of people keep waiting for the perfect idea, the perfect plan, or the perfect moment to start building something, but waiting just steals time. While you wait, someone else with half the information is out there building. They're taking action, not because they know everything, but because they're using what they have. That's what sets people apart. The ability to take what's already in their hands and shape it into something they believe in. You can do that. You just need to stop thinking your knowledge is not enough. You don't need to have all the answers before you start. You need to make use of the answers you already have. If you know how to write, start creating something worth reading. If you understand how to solve problems, begin offering real help to people who need it. If you've learned about discipline, start using it to create structure in your life that others can learn from. Your experience doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be real. People don't connect to perfection. They connect to effort and purpose. What matters is that you choose to build something with your own hands. Something that reflects what you believe in. Something that proves to yourself you're not just a student of life, but a participant in it. Knowledge becomes powerful the moment you turn it into something tangible. Maybe that means building a better daily routine. Maybe it means starting a project, serving your community, improving your health, changing your financial habits, or guiding someone else who needs support. Whatever it is, it must be built with intention, with purpose, and with real commitment. The reason many people stay stuck is not because they lack talent. It's because they keep underestimating the value of what they know. They think it's too basic, too small, too obvious, but to someone else, what you know might be the breakthrough they need. You might take for granted the lessons you've lived through, but someone else is still struggling to understand those same things. What's normal to you might be transformational to another person. And if you keep it locked inside, no one benefits, not even you. The habit of collecting information without doing anything with it leads to frustration. You end up feeling like you're always preparing, never performing. It starts to wear you down. You begin questioning your abilities, doubting your potential, and comparing yourself to others who seem to be building with less. That's why it's so important to act on what you know. Not next month, not when you have more time, but now with what's already in your hands. Building something that matters doesn't have to be complicated. Start where you are. Start with what makes sense to you. It might not be big at first, but it will grow if you stay with it. Focus on creating something real, something you can improve, refine, and take pride in. That kind of work builds character. It gives your effort a direction. It reminds you that you're capable of contributing something useful to the world around you. You're not here just to absorb. You're here to participate. You're here to create something that reflects your journey. That might mean building a business. It might mean teaching someone what you've learned. It might mean raising your standards and building a better version of yourself day by day. Whatever it is, the first step is trusting that what you know has value, and then doing something about it. There's a difference between knowing and becoming. Knowing is passive, becoming takes work. You become something through repeated action, through showing up when it's not easy, through choosing discipline over delay, through putting your knowledge on the line and turning it into something that other people can see, touch, feel, and benefit from. That's where your learning transforms into a tool for life. You don't need to seek permission to begin. You don't need to wait for someone to validate your potential. You just need to recognize that your life has taught you something worth using. If you've overcome hardship, use that strength to help others climb. If you've learned to manage your time, use it to become more consistent. If you understand something deeply, use it to create solutions that solve real problems. Most people underestimate what they can build with consistent effort. They think it's only worth doing if it's perfect. But greatness isn't built overnight. It's built through 1,000 small actions done with care and clarity. You have to keep showing up. You have to keep pushing. You have to keep believing that your work matters, even before anyone notices. That's the mindset that builds something that lasts. You have tools right now that can be used to create change. You just need to stop doubting and start doing. Even if you're uncertain. Even if you don't have every detail figured out. Even if nobody's watching yet. Because building something that matters isn't about impressing others. It's about being true to your potential. It's about refusing to let what you know sit unused while time slips by. Your knowledge has the power to shape your future, but only if you use it. If you know how to take care of your health, start now. If you know how to lead, begin stepping forward. If you know how to listen, become someone who brings peace to others. If you know how to grow, make it your responsibility to show others that growth is possible. The key is action, real, consistent, meaningful action. You've seen enough. You've heard enough. You've read enough. What you need now is to put your hands to the work, to take that knowledge and turn it into something that serves others and strengthens you. That's what it means to build something that matters. Not something for applause, but something for purpose. And once you get started, something shifts inside you. You start to believe again. You start to see the impact of your own choices. You stop chasing more knowledge and start creating more value. This is your moment to rise above delay, to move beyond doubt, to reject the lie that you're not ready. You are ready when you decide to be. Use what you know. Let it guide you. Let it shape your decisions. Let it drive your actions. Because what you build today becomes the foundation of the life you live tomorrow. Number 4. Challenge yourself to act on every new idea. Every time a new idea comes into your mind, you are presented with a chance to grow. That idea is a test. It's not there just to inspire you for a moment and then disappear. It's a message, a reminder that change is possible. But the real question is not how many new ideas you have, it's what you do with them. The moment you choose to act on a new idea, your life begins to shift. It becomes less about what you hope will happen and more about what you're making happen with what you've been given. Most people don't lack creativity. They don't lack good thoughts. What they often lack is the courage to move forward with what they think. They hear something new, they feel excited, and then they wait. They wait for the perfect time. They wait until they feel more confident. They wait for someone else to go first. And while they wait, that new idea fades into the background and loses its power. That is why you must challenge yourself to act as soon as something sparks inside you. That first step you take is what keeps the fire alive. Taking action does not require that the idea be fully formed. What it requires is that you take it seriously enough to explore it. That means you try it out. You write it down, you speak it aloud. You share it with someone you trust. You build something small around it. You test it. You improve it. And most importantly, you give it space to become something more. But it all starts with action. Without action, every new idea becomes a forgotten potential. You owe it to yourself to stop letting your best thoughts go to waste. You're going to be tempted to tell yourself the idea isn't ready. You'll start listing reasons why you should wait. You'll tell yourself you need to learn more first. But ideas don't grow by staying in your head. They grow when you give them legs. When you let them walk out into the world. When you risk a little discomfort for the sake of seeing where they can go. That challenge of choosing to act before you feel completely ready is what strengthens your ability to create a life that reflects your own thoughts and choices. You don't need to act on every idea with full commitment, but you do need to act with intention. That could mean starting small. Maybe it's a conversation. Maybe it's a note to yourself. Maybe it's 10 minutes spent researching. Or maybe it's a decision to adjust your routine or your environment based on that one new thought. The point is not the size of the action. It's the fact that you're building the habit of following through. That habit rewires how you live. It makes you a person who doesn't just think but does. Most people keep waiting for certainty. But certainty is built after action, not before it. It comes through repetition, through trial, through feedback. Until you act, all you have is theory. And theory can be dangerous if it keeps you trapped in endless planning. You can read, learn, think, and imagine. But if you're not moving, you're not growing. You've got to be willing to take that first imperfect step when a new idea comes into your life. Not everything you try will work. But the more you act, the more you learn. The more you move, the more you understand what's worth pursuing and what's not. Sometimes the best ideas are the ones you don't expect. They show up quietly and disappear quickly, if you're not paying attention. The ones that don't shout but whisper. The only way to know their worth is to give them a shot. That means being alert, being present, and being willing to act even if no one else sees the value yet. It means trusting your ability to recognize something that could lead to something better. Challenge doesn't mean pressure. It means stretching. It means you give yourself permission to go beyond where you usually stop. It means you stop saying, "That's a good idea," and start saying, "Here's what I'm doing with it." When you live that way, life becomes more exciting. You wake up knowing you're building something. You stop watching and start participating. You begin to feel responsible for what happens next. That is when growth happens. Not when you hear something new, but when you choose to respond with action. It's easy to let new ideas pass you by. You get inspired for a moment, then you go back to the same habits. The challenge is to change that pattern. To decide that every time something new stirs in your mind, you will respond, not with delay, not with excuses, but with motion. That might mean writing it down right away, or scheduling a time to test it out, or removing a distraction that keeps you from focusing. Every step you take in response to a new idea trains your mind to trust itself. You stop doubting your thoughts and start building with them. Every great change starts with one decision to act, one idea acted upon, one insight turned into a commitment. You may think it's small now, but over time it becomes the foundation of something meaningful. It becomes a new habit, a new relationship, a new opportunity. It becomes the reason you're not in the same place a year from now. The gap between who you are and who you want to be is filled with the steps you take when new ideas come your way. Discipline is not just about doing what's hard. It's about doing what's right in the moment when you're tempted to do nothing. When a new idea shows up, your discipline should tell you take a step, not tomorrow. Not when it's easier, but now. That's what builds momentum. That's what keeps you from becoming a person who knows a lot, but changes very little. You want your life to reflect your ideas, and that only happens through consistent action. There's something powerful about making a decision quickly. It builds confidence. It shows that you trust your own thoughts. When you challenge yourself to act on every new idea, you stop living on the sidelines of your own life. You become more present. You become more alive. You begin to see possibilities where others see obstacles. You begin to move while others hesitate. And over time, that difference becomes your advantage. What you do with your ideas tells the truth about your future. Every action you take builds the road ahead. That means the life you want is not built on what you say you believe. It's built on what you prove you believe by the way you move. The more you act, the more you build. And the more you build, the more you grow. This is the path of those who lead themselves with courage and clarity. The challenge is not to be perfect. The challenge is to be consistent, to keep showing up, to keep responding, to keep using your thoughts as fuel for real change. Number 5. Turn learning into progress by doing hard things daily. Every person wants to grow. They want to see change in their life. They want to get stronger, wiser, more capable, but wanting is never enough. Learning by itself doesn't move the needle. Reading another book, listening to another talk, or attending another class will not change your life until you decide to do what is uncomfortable. You grow when you take what you've learned and use it in moments that stretch you. You grow when you stop choosing ease and start choosing what challenges you. That's how you move from knowing something to becoming someone new. Hard things are not punishments. They are training. They shape your attitude. They test your limits. They show you what you're made of. And the reason most people stay stuck is not because they don't know what to do. It's because they don't do what they know. They hesitate when it's time to act. They wait for motivation. They hope for easier paths. But that's not how progress happens. Real growth comes from showing up each day with the decision to face the hard things instead of running from them. You turn learning into progress by creating proof. You don't just say, "I understand discipline." You wake up early when it's uncomfortable. You don't just say, "I've studied resilience." You keep going when the results are slow. You don't just say, "I know about focus." You remove distractions and stay committed. That's how you prove to yourself that the learning matters, that it means something, that it wasn't just entertainment. Every day gives you the chance to prove what you've learned through effort, through repetition, through discomfort. Your life will never improve by accident. It improves through effort. It improves when you stop asking, what's easy, and start asking, what's necessary. And what's necessary isn't always pleasant, but it builds you. It raises your standards. It makes you a person you can trust. That trust in yourself is what builds real confidence, not empty motivation, not surface-level knowledge. Real confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself through action. Doing hard things daily doesn't mean you burn yourself out. It means you stop protecting yourself from growth. It means you choose the thing that stretches you when you could choose what's familiar. It means you work through the resistance when every part of you wants to quit. That builds something inside you that no one can take. That changes how you carry yourself. It makes you stronger without needing to talk about it. It shows in how you move, how you speak, how you decide. You don't have to make huge leaps. You just need to do something hard each day. That could be a difficult conversation, a tough workout, a task you've been avoiding, a goal that feels overwhelming. The key is to stop running from the discomfort and start facing it with intention. That's where your learning turns into power. When you stop protecting yourself from difficulty and start leaning into it, you unlock parts of yourself that have been waiting to be tested. Every hard thing you do teaches you something you can't get from a book. It teaches you how to lead yourself, how to stay calm when things go wrong, how to keep moving when no one is watching, how to stay focused when distractions try to pull you away. That kind of learning sticks. It's not theory, it's lived experience. It becomes part of who you are. It's how you build resilience. Not by reading about it, but by going through things that demand it from you. Most people live in cycles. They learn something, they feel inspired, and then they go back to doing what they've always done. The cycle never breaks unless they decide to do the hard thing today. Not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, but now. That's the only way to turn knowledge into transformation. That's the only way to make progress that lasts. When you do hard things daily, you raise your threshold. What used to scare you becomes normal. What used to stop you becomes routine. That's how progress happens. Not all at once, but through small wins that build on each other. Every challenge you face today prepares you for a bigger one tomorrow. And when those bigger challenges come, you'll be ready because you've trained for them. Through the daily choice to do what's difficult. Discomfort is the price you pay for becoming better. It's not something to avoid. It's something to embrace. Because on the other side of discomfort is pride. It's knowing you could have stayed the same, but you didn't. It's knowing you faced the voice in your head that said not today and answered it with action. That's how you take control of your life. That's how you turn knowledge into real results. You already know enough to make a change. The missing link is daily application. The missing link is turning what you know into what you do. If you've learned about consistency, prove it by showing up every day. If you've learned about leadership, prove it by taking responsibility. If you've learned about habits, prove it by changing how you spend your mornings. Every piece of learning has a matching action. When you pair them together, you become unstoppable. You're not supposed to feel ready. You're supposed to feel challenged. That's what growth feels like. It doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel smooth. But it feels real. It feels like progress. That's what you want. Not just to be smarter, but to be stronger. Not just to know more, but to live better. That only happens when you decide that hard things are part of the deal. Nothing about improvement is accidental. You have to plan it. You have to choose it. You have to build it into your life on purpose. That means you don't wait for the right mood. You build the routine that gets you moving. You stop looking for motivation and start looking for responsibility. And every time you take responsibility for your own growth, you move forward. That's how you close the gap between who you are and who you want to be. Each hard thing you face becomes a lesson. It becomes part of your story. It becomes a brick in the foundation you're building. The foundation of a life that is based on effort, not excuses, on action, not delay, on discipline, not comfort, And over time, that foundation becomes solid. It becomes the reason you don't fall apart when things get tough. Because you've already trained for it. You've already lived through the hard parts and kept going. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent. And that consistency is built by doing one hard thing every day. One thing that makes you uncomfortable. One thing that challenges you to show up stronger than yesterday. That's how learning becomes progress. That's how change becomes real. You don't just read it, you prove it. You don't just think it, you live it. You don't just talk about growth, you show it in how you move through each day. Number 6. Take control by applying what you already understand. There comes a point in life when you have to stop waiting for more information and start taking charge of what you already know. Most people think they need more answers. They keep reading, watching, listening, waiting for the perfect plan. But the truth is, you already know enough to move forward. You already understand what needs to change. The real challenge is not lack of knowledge. It's lack of application. If you want to take control of your life, stop chasing the next idea and start acting on the ones you already believe in. Control starts the moment you say, I'm going to live what I've learned. It's easy to feel stuck when you never act. When all you do is gather ideas, you feel overwhelmed. But when you take those ideas and put them into motion, you begin to see movement in your life. It's not about perfection. It's about direction. And direction comes from decisions, not from theories or opinions or more studying. It comes from saying, I know what's right for me, and I will prove it through my actions. Look at the areas of your life that matter to you. Your health, your work, your relationships, your mindset. Think about what you already understand in those areas. You don't need someone to tell you that eating well makes a difference. You don't need another book to explain that discipline matters. You don't need another course to confirm that consistent effort leads to progress. You know these things. The question is, have you built your life around them? Control is not a feeling. It's a decision followed by action. When you apply what you know, you feel stronger, you feel clearer. You don't wait for someone else to fix things. You don't expect someone to rescue you. You take ownership of where you are, and you take responsibility for where you're going. That responsibility changes everything. It builds self-respect. It gives you energy. It pushes you to take each day seriously. You stop blaming and start building. You don't need more reminders of what's right. You need to respect the truth that's already inside you. When you ignore what you understand, you weaken your own voice. But when you listen to it and act on it, you grow. Your confidence rises. Your decisions get clearer. Your direction becomes steady. That is how you take control, by treating what you understand as real, as meaningful, as worth living out. That's where change begins. When people say they feel lost, it's often because they haven't committed to what they already know. They're looking for more information instead of using what they have. They keep reaching outside themselves when the answers are already within. You know you should show up every day with purpose. You know you should stay consistent. You know you should be honest with yourself. The power to change isn't in the next big idea. It's in applying what's already clear. Every day you have a chance to take one small step based on what you already understand. You know how to be more focused. Start putting the distractions away. You know how to be more healthy. Start choosing better habits. You know how to be more productive. Stop procrastinating and do the thing. These aren't mysteries. They're decisions waiting for your commitment. And the more you act on what you know, the more control you take back from the world around you. You don't gain control by knowing everything. You gain control by doing something with what you already trust to be true. Knowledge without action builds frustration. It makes you feel like you're moving forward. But nothing changes. Action is the only proof that your knowledge means anything. And when you start proving it every day, you begin to feel momentum. You feel like you're steering your life again. That's not something anyone can give you. It's something you claim through your choices. The most successful people in any area of life are not always the ones who know the most. They're the ones who use what they know without delay. They make quick decisions based on clear values. They stay committed to what they believe in. They don't need perfect plans. They need clear action. That's what gives them confidence. That's what gives them results. That's what gives them peace of mind. When others are still waiting for the perfect moment. There will never be a perfect moment. If you're waiting to feel more ready, more sure, more qualified, you'll wait forever. Action makes you ready. Progress makes you sure. Experience makes you qualified. And all of that comes from applying what you already understand. Even when you feel nervous, even when you feel uncertain, that's the only way you grow. That's the only way you take control back from fear, from doubt, from hesitation. You don't need to impress anyone with your knowledge. What matters is whether you live it, whether you're proud of how you show up, whether your life reflects your values. That kind of alignment gives you power. It gives you clarity. It gives you control. Because you're no longer torn between what you know and what you do. You're one person, clear in thought, clear in action. That's the kind of strength that lasts. You might not be where you want to be yet, but you're not helpless. You have what it takes to get moving. You already carry ideas that could change your life if you apply them. The only thing standing between you and progress is action. Not more time, not more research, not more guidance, just more doing, more deciding, more follow-through. That's the path. That's the answer. And you already know it. You've listened. You've learned. Now it's time to apply. Choose one area of your life and take control. Do what you already know is right. Keep showing up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Each time you follow through, you build proof that you're serious about your growth. You show yourself that you don't just know, you act. You move. You build. You grow. Not one day. Not later. Now with what you already understand. With what's already in you. Number 7. Push beyond comfort and do what you keep delaying. Every person knows the feeling of having something important to do but still putting it off. You tell yourself, you'll get to it later. That you need more time. That now just isn't the right moment. But deep inside, you're aware that it's not time you're lacking. It's courage. Courage to step outside your comfort and do the hard thing. Not someday. Not when you feel better. But now, the longer you wait, the heavier it becomes. And the more you delay, the more control you hand over to fear, hesitation, and regret. You've got things you want to build. You've got goals that have been waiting on your action. But every day you choose what's easier, what's more familiar, what doesn't make your heart race. Comfort is warm, but it's also dangerous. It keeps you from challenging yourself. It locks you in routines that drain your potential. It makes you forget how capable you really are. Progress doesn't come from staying where it's safe. It comes from taking the step you keep talking about, but never take. Ask yourself what you've been putting off. Not the small stuff. The real work. The conversation you've avoided. The business idea you've buried. The health changes you keep promising. The skill you want to master. The habit you need to break. These aren't new thoughts. They've been circling your mind for a long time. And every time you ignore them, a part of you knows it. You feel it in your chest, in your energy, in the way your days feel full but empty at the same time. There's nothing wrong with wanting comfort. Everyone does. But the mistake is thinking that comfort is more important than growth. If you wait for change to feel easy, you'll never move. If you wait for motivation to stay consistent, you'll keep slipping back. Growth starts where comfort ends. You've got to be willing to be uncomfortable if you want to become stronger. You've got to challenge your own habits, not once, but every day. And that starts by doing the very thing you've been avoiding. You're not short on time, you're short on action. Every day you delay the hard thing is another day you feed the fear. It grows in silence. It grows when you distract yourself. It grows when you keep saying, "I'll do it tomorrow." But you can break that cycle by doing the hard thing today. Start small. Start scared. Start even if it's messy. Just start, because action shrinks fear. Doing breaks the delay, and once you move, you'll realize the fear wasn't as big as you made it. You don't need more planning. You need more follow-through. The person you want to become is waiting on the other side of your excuses. You already know what matters. You already know what's being neglected. The challenge is to face it head on, not to win immediately, Not to be perfect, but to be honest. Honest enough to say, this is hard, but I'm doing it anyway. That one choice can reshape the course of your entire life. Comfort feels good in the short term, but it robs you of long-term pride. Every time you choose comfort over action, you trade your future for a moment of ease. That's not the trade you want to keep making. You want to wake up proud. You want to sleep at night knowing you gave your best. You want to feel strong in your own skin. That only comes when you stop delaying and start doing. Not just once, but as a lifestyle. You'll never feel fully ready. That's the truth. No one does. The people who succeed aren't fearless. They're just committed. They feel the same doubt, but they don't bow to it. They push through the discomfort and find meaning on the other side. They keep showing up when it's boring, when it's painful, when it's slow. And that's why they grow. That's why they lead. That's why they become the kind of people who inspire others. Not by their words, but by their actions. You have that in you too, but it doesn't show up in theory. It shows up in practice. Real strength is built when you get uncomfortable on purpose. When you do the thing you've been putting off, even if it scares you. Especially if it scares you. Because that fear is a sign that you're about to grow. That discomfort is the signal that you're stepping into a higher standard. Don't run from it. Face it. Do the work. Build the discipline. Create the proof. Every time you do what you delayed, you take back power. You build confidence that doesn't come from applause. It comes from consistency. It comes from knowing that when you said you would do something hard, you actually did it. And that's where your self-respect comes from. Not from talk, not from promises, but from your ability to show up again and again, no matter how you feel. If you want to feel alive, do something you've been avoiding. Get your heart involved. Make yourself proud. The energy you're looking for is hiding behind the thing you've been afraid to do. Don't wait for someone to tell you. Don't wait for conditions to be perfect. You already know what needs to happen. Now it's on you to do it. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Right now. Even if it's just one small action, take it. That one choice can change your momentum. When you keep delaying, you live with tension. You carry it in your shoulders, your breath, your thoughts. But the moment you act, that tension breaks, you feel lighter. You feel capable. You feel like yourself again. That's what real action gives you. Not just progress on paper, but peace in your mind, strength in your heart. You stop being a spectator in your own life, and you start being the one who decides. It won't be easy, but it's worth it. You'll stumble. You'll doubt. You'll want to go back to what's easy. But don't. Stay with it. Keep going. Because every step you take into discomfort makes you stronger. Every decision to do the hard thing builds a new level of discipline. And discipline leads to freedom. Not freedom from effort, but freedom from guilt. From regret. From wondering what could have happened if you had just acted. You already know what to do. You just need to do it. Turn off the distractions. Silence the excuses. Focus on what matters. Act with purpose. Push through the hesitation. Be the kind of person who does what they said they would do. That's how you change. That's how you lead yourself. That's how you create a life that's not just busy but meaningful. Take one step, then another. Keep going. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. That's when it counts most. Number 8. Make learning count by creating results that prove growth. It's one thing to collect knowledge, and another to prove that knowledge has changed you. True growth is not measured by how many books you read or courses you complete. It's measured by what you build, how you improve, and the tangible changes in your life. You can memorize facts and ideas, but if they don't transform your daily actions, they are empty. The challenge is to turn learning into doing in a way that results in real progress. This requires discipline, focus, and a willingness to be accountable to yourself. When you learn something new, the clock starts ticking on its usefulness. If you don't apply what you've learned, you lose momentum and let opportunities slip away. Learning without results is like planting seeds without watering them. The knowledge sits there, unused. While life keeps moving forward, you have to make the choice to create outcomes. If what you learn doesn't lead to visible change, it hasn't truly entered your life. It's essential to take ownership of your growth by tracking results and pushing yourself to deliver. Creating results is a process that demands more than just effort. It calls for deliberate action. It means setting clear goals based on what you learn and committing to them with all your energy. It's easy to be distracted by the next shiny idea or the latest trend, but growth happens when you focus on consistent effort and finish what you start. The sense of accomplishment that comes from reaching a milestone fuels your desire to keep improving. Results build confidence and open doors that theory alone cannot. Your mindset has to shift from passive learning to active producing. The habit of just knowing facts or strategies without using them creates frustration and stagnation. The best way to change that is to pick one or two things you've learned and put them to work immediately. Don't wait for the perfect moment or the ideal circumstances. Action teaches you more than any book or lecture ever will. It reveals where you need improvement, what works and what doesn't. It transforms vague ideas into concrete progress. It's normal to want to learn more before acting, but this often becomes a form of procrastination. The truth is that learning and doing have to go hand in hand. Without application, learning loses its value. Without learning, doing can become aimless. The key is to create a cycle where every bit of knowledge is tested through action and every action teaches you something new. This ongoing feedback loop is where real growth lives. The results you produce show how far you've come and point the way forward. To make learning count, it's vital to be honest with yourself about what's working. Keep track of your efforts and their outcomes. Measure progress not by how busy you are but by what you've actually accomplished. If something isn't producing the results you want, adjust your approach. The goal is progress, not perfection. Being flexible and learning from mistakes is part of turning knowledge into results. It's not about avoiding failure, but learning how to fail forward. Results don't have to be huge to matter. Small wins build momentum and remind you that change is possible. Each step forward proves that your learning is translating into growth. Celebrate those wins but also use them as fuel to tackle the next challenge. Growth is a series of small victories stacked over time. They create a foundation you can rely on when things get tough. Remember that results create belief and belief motivates consistent action. Creating results also means being willing to share what you've done. When you produce something real, you show others your growth and inspire them. You move from being just a learner to a leader. People respect those who take knowledge and use it to make a difference. That kind of influence comes from action, not theory. When you make your learning visible through results, you step into your power and expand your opportunities. Accountability is a powerful tool for making learning count. Share your goals and progress with someone you trust. This helps you stay committed and pushes you to deliver. Accountability forces you out of excuses and into action. It also gives you valuable feedback and support. No one succeeds alone. Building a network of people who encourage your results-oriented approach will speed your growth. You become part of a community that values progress and not just talk. The habit of creating results requires you to prioritize what matters most. Not everything you learn will be useful immediately or at all. Be selective about what you focus on and invest your time and energy wisely. Decide what results you want to see and then work backward to figure out which learning matters most. This focus keeps you from spreading yourself thin and helps you move faster toward meaningful growth. Concentrate your efforts and push hard in those areas. Every day offers a new chance to create results that prove your growth. You don't have to wait for a big breakthrough. Daily action, no matter how small, builds a pattern of success. When you commit to making learning count every single day, you build unstoppable momentum. This momentum carries you through obstacles and discouragement. It becomes the foundation of your confidence and the evidence of your evolving potential. Growth is a choice you make over and over. Choosing to make learning count by creating results means you value your time and effort. It means you refuse to settle for being someone who only knows things but never acts on them. This choice sets you apart from the majority. Most people get stuck in endless learning with little to show for it. You don't have to be one of them. You have the power to prove your growth by what you create. It's important to understand that the process is never finished. Growth doesn't end with one success or one project. It's a lifelong journey of learning, applying, and producing. Each result you achieve raises the bar and opens new possibilities. This continuous cycle keeps life exciting and full of purpose. It gives you something real to chase and something to look back on with pride. Making learning count is a daily habit that shapes your future. No matter where you are today, you can begin making your learning count. Pick one thing you've recently learned and commit to producing a result from it. Write it down. Plan the steps. Take action. Track your progress. Notice how your confidence builds when you see your learning working in the real world. This is the moment when knowledge becomes power. When theory turns into transformation. When growth shows up in your life for everyone to see, your results are your proof that you are growing and evolving. They show the world and yourself that your learning matters. This proof becomes a powerful motivator that keeps you moving forward. It reminds you why you started and what you're capable of. The more results you create, the more you raise your standards. You become a doer, not just a learner. You become a person who shapes their destiny through action. Growth is alive. It demands movement and effort. Learning without results is like standing still. But when you commit to producing results, you build a life of meaning and progress. You develop skills, confidence, and resilience. You unlock opportunities that passive learning can never reach. The choice is yours. Make your learning count by creating real results that prove your growth every single day. Number 9. Use every lesson to fix what you avoid facing. There is a part of life we all try to avoid. Problems, fears, uncomfortable truths. They all sit in the corners of our minds waiting for us to confront them. Learning is meant to help us grow. But if we only take in information without addressing the difficult parts inside ourselves or our situations, then that learning is wasted. True growth demands that every lesson we absorb becomes a tool to face what we've been running from. Facing what we avoid isn't easy. It stirs up discomfort and resistance, but it is necessary if change is going to happen. Each lesson you learn carries power. It is not just knowledge to impress others or fill notebooks. It is a map showing you where the trouble is and how to fix it. When you ignore problems or keep pushing them aside, those problems only grow bigger and become harder to handle. That avoidance drains your energy and distracts your focus. Instead of letting fear or doubt control you, use the lessons you've gathered as weapons to cut through that resistance. Every step you take toward facing what you avoid breaks chains that hold you back. Avoidance often looks like distraction. We busy ourselves with learning new things but skip over the hard truths about ourselves or our circumstances. That's a trap many fall into. The mind craves comfort, so it clings to pleasant knowledge while ignoring the hard questions. But real growth lives on the other side of discomfort. When you use lessons to tackle those tough areas, you build strength and character. You grow not only in skill but also in courage and self-awareness. Avoiding problems creates stress without solution. The weight of what's left unaddressed can make you anxious and exhausted. Learning without facing those issues is like painting over cracks instead of fixing the foundation. The cracks will reappear and cause bigger problems. Instead, take your lessons seriously. Ask yourself what the knowledge is pointing to. What situation have you been putting off? What fear have you been hiding from? What truth have you been refusing to accept? Use the lesson as a starting point to step into that challenge. Facing difficult realities requires honesty. It means admitting where you fall short and recognizing what needs to change. That is a brave act. It is easier to pretend everything is fine and keep learning new ideas, but the courage to look at what you avoid and fix it moves you from a place of helplessness to control. Every lesson you apply to a problem weakens its hold over you. Over time, those small acts of facing what's hard build resilience and confidence. When you begin to use every lesson to confront what you avoid, you start seeing patterns in your life. You recognize repeated mistakes and understand where you need to improve. This insight is valuable because it helps you stop going in circles. Growth becomes intentional, not accidental. You don't just hope for better outcomes. You create them by fixing the root causes that have held you back. That shift from hope to action changes everything. Fixing what you avoid also improves your relationships. Many struggles come from unspoken issues or unresolved conflicts. Lessons about communication, patience, or empathy give you tools to address those areas. Using what you learn to have difficult conversations or to change your own behavior strengthens bonds. It shows maturity and willingness to grow not just for yourself but for those around you. Avoiding these challenges causes distance and pain, but facing them rebuilds trust and connection. The process of fixing what you avoid will test your patience. Change rarely happens overnight. You will face setbacks and moments where it feels easier to turn back. That is normal and part of the journey. What matters is persistence. Each time you use a lesson to fix a problem, no matter how small, you are moving forward. The progress may be slow, but it is steady. Celebrate those wins, because they prove that growth is happening even when it's hard to see. Sometimes facing what you avoid means seeking help. It doesn't make you weak to ask for guidance or support. On the contrary, it shows strength to recognize when you need others, whether it's a mentor, friend, or professional. Having someone to walk with you through difficult changes makes the process less lonely and more manageable. Sharing your struggles and applying lessons together accelerates growth. It reminds you that you are not alone in facing what's hard. Your mindset must shift from avoiding problems to embracing them as opportunities. Every lesson becomes a step toward freedom from what holds you down. This is a powerful shift because it puts you in the driver's seat of your life. Instead of being a victim of circumstances, you become an active problem solver. You stop blaming and start fixing. This change in attitude opens doors and creates new possibilities. You learn to welcome challenges because they become proof that you are growing stronger. Using every lesson to fix what you avoid requires commitment. It means setting priorities not based on comfort but on growth. You must decide to face problems head-on instead of delaying or ignoring them. That decision creates momentum. Momentum makes future challenges easier to handle. It creates a sense of accomplishment that drives you to keep pushing. Fixing what you avoid becomes a habit that transforms your life. The growth you experience by facing avoided issues impacts every area of your life. It influences your career, health, mindset, and relationships. Problems left unattended tend to leak into multiple parts of life. When you use lessons to fix these issues, the improvement is broad and deep. You become more effective, peaceful, and focused. Your confidence soars because you have proven to yourself that you can handle difficulty. This new confidence invites more growth and new challenges. This process also teaches humility. Facing your weaknesses and mistakes is humbling but necessary. It reminds you that growth is a journey, not a destination. Being willing to fix what you avoid keeps you grounded and open to learning. It stops arrogance and invites wisdom. This humility leads to better decisions and healthier relationships. It creates a life marked by continual improvement. Every lesson you learn should have a purpose beyond knowledge. Its purpose is to help you face what you resist and fix it. When that happens, the lesson becomes a bridge from where you are to where you want to be. You no longer collect lessons as trophies or symbols of effort. Instead, each lesson fuels action and transformation. That is the difference between knowing and growing. Your future depends on how you deal with the challenges you avoid today. Ignoring them only delays progress and increases stress. Facing them now with the help of your lessons gives you peace and forward motion. It clears the path for new opportunities and deeper fulfillment. Each fixed problem opens space for growth and joy. The work is tough, but the rewards are real and lasting. Growth happens when you use what you learn to confront the uncomfortable parts of life. It demands courage and persistence. It requires honesty and willingness to change. Avoiding problems may feel safe for a moment, but it limits your potential. Using lessons to fix what you avoid unlocks that potential and sets you free. It empowers you to live fully and create a meaningful life. This journey is not easy, but it is necessary. The pain of facing avoided issues is temporary, but the benefits last forever. Each lesson applied makes you stronger and wiser. Every problem fixed builds a better version of yourself. Your life becomes a story of courage, action, and growth. That story is worth living and sharing. Take control by turning your lessons into solutions for your challenges. Don't let fear or doubt stop you. Face what you avoid and fix it with the knowledge you have gained. This is how you move from learning to doing. This is how you create a life that reflects your true potential. This is how you win at the most important game of all, your life. Number 10. Stop preparing forever. And finally, step into execution. Preparation has its place, but it becomes a trap when it never ends. Many people spend so much time getting ready, planning, and learning that they forget to actually start doing. This endless preparation kills momentum and keeps dreams locked behind hesitation. The moment to act is always the most powerful step toward success. Without execution, preparation is just wasted effort. What separates those who achieve from those who only dream is the willingness to move from preparation to action, even when conditions aren't perfect. Waiting for the perfect time is an illusion. Life rarely offers ideal circumstances. There will always be reasons to delay. The truth is that progress begins when you take imperfect action. You learn more by doing than by endless planning. Action creates feedback. It reveals what works and what doesn't. Preparation is about getting ready, but execution is about moving forward. Taking that first step unlocks potential and opens doors you couldn't see while standing still. Fear often hides behind the desire to prepare endlessly. People feel safer when they think they are fully ready. But that safety is false. The real risk lies in never starting. The longer you wait, the bigger the gap grows between where you are and where you want to be. Every day spent preparing without acting is a day lost. It's time to break free from that cycle and make execution your priority. Doing something, anything, moves you closer to your goal. Execution teaches you lessons that no amount of preparation can provide. When you begin to act, you encounter real challenges and realities. These moments force you to adapt and grow. Preparation can only predict so much, but execution reveals the true path. It's like learning to swim by getting in the water, rather than just reading about it. Action forces you to develop skills, build confidence, and gain momentum. The more you do, the better you become. Taking action also builds courage. The first step is often the hardest. But once taken, it changes your mindset. You prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you imagined. That feeling of accomplishment fuels motivation to keep going. It shifts your identity from someone who only plans to someone who gets results. This shift is critical because action breeds confidence and reduces fear. Perfectionism is another enemy of execution. Waiting until everything is flawless only causes delays. Progress comes from starting even when conditions are messy or incomplete. Execution requires embracing imperfection and learning along the way. When you allow yourself to be imperfect, you free up energy to focus on results. Progress matters more than perfection. Action with progress leads to growth and opportunity. Execution means setting priorities and deadlines that push you forward. It requires commitment to do what matters now instead of what feels comfortable. Procrastination feeds on hesitation and uncertainty, but action cuts through both. Setting clear goals with timelines forces you to move past preparation. It creates accountability and keeps momentum alive. When you commit to executing, you prioritize what matters most and avoid distractions. Action also transforms mindset. By showing you that failure is not the end, many hesitate to step into execution because they fear making mistakes. The reality is mistakes are part of the process. Each failure is a lesson that guides you closer to success. Execution builds resilience by teaching you to recover quickly and keep moving. When you stop preparing forever, you accept that setbacks are temporary and growth is ongoing. The habit of executing daily creates discipline. Small, consistent steps add up to big results over time. Action breaks projects into manageable pieces and prevents overwhelm. Execution moves you from being stuck in thought to being productive. Discipline comes from the simple act of showing up and doing the work. When you practice execution regularly, it becomes natural and unstoppable. Execution is also about overcoming doubt. Doubt whispers reasons to delay, to wait for more knowledge or resources. Action silences doubt by proving that progress is possible. Every time you execute, you build proof for yourself that you can achieve your goals. This builds a positive feedback loop where confidence grows with every step. Doubt loses power because your results speak louder than your fears. Execution connects your intentions with reality. Planning and preparation are mental exercises, but execution translates those thoughts into tangible outcomes. Action bridges the gap between ideas and results. It turns vision into something real and measurable. This connection is vital because dreams need action to become true. Without execution, ideas remain invisible and goals stay distant. Starting to execute also helps clarify your path. When you act, you learn what to adjust and where to focus. Feedback from execution helps you refine your approach and avoid wasted effort. It reveals strengths and weaknesses you didn't notice before. This clarity is invaluable because it sharpens your strategy and improves your chances of success. You become smarter by doing rather than just thinking. Execution encourages innovation. When you take action, you face problems that require creative solutions. Preparation can plan for possibilities, but execution demands real answers. Action pushes you to experiment and find what works. This willingness to try new things leads to breakthroughs and progress. Execution is the engine that drives growth and improvement. Finally, execution inspires others. People admire those who act on their dreams instead of just talking about them. Your willingness to step into action creates momentum not just for you but for those around you. It builds trust and credibility. Taking action makes you a role model of courage and determination. It shows that success is built on doing, not just knowing. Execution is the bridge from who you are today to who you want to become. Preparation builds foundation, but execution builds the house. The only way to move forward is to stop waiting and start doing. The power is in your hands to take that step. Don't let preparation keep you stuck. Step into execution and begin shaping the life you want with real action every day.